Hello and welcome to the podcast masterclass. I know this looks a little bit different than the way it normally looks, but hey, man, I got something I wanted to teach you guys. I'm giving you guys a free masterclass tonight. So who loves you? All right. Oh man, come on in. Welcome in tonight. I know you can't see me. I'm right here in the corner. Look down to your the bottom left of your screen. You see me. I'm waving at you. All right, so I'll be here all night. I wanted to give you 3 secrets to start your podcast in 5 days without having any experience using the 5P podcast system. And listen, you don't need any special equipment either, right? You don't even need any special equipment. If you are watching on your cell phone, the thing that you hold in your hand is the thing that you need, okay? That's the only thing you need. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in and get started, man. As you guys come on in, you'll be able to see what's going on. I put the announcement out so you guys should know exactly kind of what's going on. But I want to get started because we got a lot to get to, and I want to get through all of this. All right, so listen, I'm glad you guys are here, and in this masterclass, I'm going to teach you experts, leaders, entrepreneurs, believers that have a story or been through a situation. And now I want to help people get through what you went through, how to start a podcast in 5 days without having any experience using my 5P podcast system. Now, listen, I'm guessing for a lot of you that this is probably not your first masterclass. The first thing I want to mention is that if you failed at podcasting in the past, it's not your fault. There's a lot of information out there and it can be confusing. Many times, information overload keeps you from success, and it's okay because if you've been concerned in the past that you just can't succeed with podcasting, I want you to put those fears to rest. You can do this. You can do this. You just need the right person to explain it to you, because the other gurus out there, they want you to think that you need some fancy equipment or be, amazing orator with a college degree to be successful. But I'm here to tell you that they are wrong. And if you ever thought that, other people want you to stay out of podcasting so they can keep all the benefits to themselves, yeah, you're probably right. But listen, they don't benefit from you succeeding. They want to keep you stuck. The difference is with me, I actually care about your success, and I truly want to see you living the life of your dreams and having your podcast out there that people are listening to. All right. So that's what we're here for. So I know you have a dream to change the world, make an impact, and I want to show you how to make those dreams happen tonight during this masterclass. And that's the beauty of being in this group, right? Who loves you? All right. So my goal in the next 30 minutes is to give you 3 secrets to the 5P podcast system. That is the key to starting and launching a podcast in 5 days. And I'm going to show you my proprietary frameworks that will make it simple and easy for you to achieve that result. And listen, if you guys stay to the end, but you got to stay to the end, I'm going to give you a very special live only offer for just for you. So that you can only get here because you access this live masterclass that I'm doing tonight. Okay. But that's only for you if you're serious about not letting this year look like last year, with you still not starting your podcast. God told you to start 2 years ago or a month ago or 5 years ago or whatever, right? So if you are serious about this, this offers for you. Okay, so are you ready to know the secrets? Are you guys ready? Put a 1 in the chat if you're ready. Are you ready? Say you're ready. All right. So secret number 1, there's 3 secrets. Secret number 1 is the secret of the system. That's what we're here for, right? All right. So let me break it down to you. So remember earlier I told you about the frameworks that I developed to help me, teach people to start a podcast. Well, take out your pen and your paper and take notes because I'm going to walk you through this framework. I call it the 5P podcast system. All right. And in the 5 Ps, you have planning, production, post-production, promotion, and posting. Okay. So let me tell you how I developed it real quick, right? So I realized that people quit podcasting because they can't stay consistent. We talked about that before, right? They can't stay consistent because they don't know where to start. They don't have a system to constantly put out episodes without getting burnt out. So I thought to myself, like, how could I make this so easy like a child could do it? That's when it hit me. I needed to use the system that I taught my 6th grade students. That way it would be so easy that anyone could do it. And you can see those pictures there. That's my 6th grade. That was my classroom in middle school. You see the thing on the door, Mr. Harper. That was my classroom. All right. And I had a little studio in there. It was cool. It was fun. Anyway, so I was sitting in this very classroom that you're seeing right here, during office hours, and I was tired because I had to be on my feet all day. Because in the school system, you're required to be monitoring the students. They call it aggressive monitoring. So long gone are the days you just hand out work and sit at your desk, right? You get in trouble for that. Now, I wanted to have a way that I could uh, put the kids to work, basically, you know, put the work on them and not on me. So I guess it was my laziness, right? My laziness kick in, both a gift and a curse. It became a gift in this sense because I decided to flip my classroom. And flipping the classroom simply just means I would have the kids watch videos of me while they followed the tutorials. And it's a lot more into it than that, but that's just kind of the easy overview for you to hear. While 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 that worked, there was still something missing. They were having a hard time getting the podcast project completed in the 2-week time period that they had for that actual unit, right? Because we had them in for only for 9 weeks, right? So I had them, I had them 2 weeks for that unit. So I visited a teacher. They call her the queen of sixth grade, right? Because she just had everything perfectly laid out. And I asked her, how does she do her projects? So she told me that she broke everything down. She created checklists and she basically guided them to the answers. So that's when I realized how I could actually break the projects down into smaller sections and have them create templates so they could create the podcast even faster. So once I did that, they began to turn into projects so fast that I had to fill time with another project. And finally, I was forced to make them create a 4-episode season of their podcast that they could post on Apple Podcasts. Yes, we actually had them posted up there. So they would have something to do for the 2-week period for the unit. All right. The project obviously was a hit. The kids loved it. So I thought to myself, if it could work for sixth graders, it can work for adults. And it did. And it worked just like that for Marcel. You guys know Marcel. She's in the group here. And she came to me. She didn't know anything about podcasts nor edit her podcast. And just one day, though, she was able to edit her podcast using the 5P podcast system and started creating episodes with ease. And as you can see here, she wrote, "Y'all, I'm so freaking excited. Derek Harper, thank you for your help. I was so afraid to take on this new adventure because technology has not been my friend, but with your help, I'm learning to do the darn thing. Just finished setting up my podcast template and I did 2 episodes and added music to it. See, the 2 episodes right there, telling you guys, I faded the music in and out perfectly. Derek Harper, you rock. Y'all better sign up for his class. He's doing an excellent job with me. Praise God." All right, cool. So that's Marcel. She was able to do it. Technology wasn't her friend. She was able to still do it. All right, cool. Look, so I like to give the framework that the system is built on. It's called the burp strategy. All right. I was about to burp myself. Excuse me. All right. That means you are going to batch, edit, repurpose, and then post. So this framework allows you to create 2 or more episodes a week in 2 hours or less. Then we use that framework to complete each section of the system, which is planning, production, post-production, promotion, and posting. All right. And as you can see here, so step 1, you're going to batch episodes in the planning and production section of the system. All right. So batching just simply means that you're going to make a lot of episodes. So as you saw Marcel, she said I was able to do 2 episodes. She was able to do those 2 episodes in that one sitting because that's what she was doing. She was batching episodes. So you don't just do an episode and then release it. You do an episode and then you hold on to it, and then you do another episode, and then you do another episode, and do another episode. So now you're 3 or 4 episodes in, and then you have time to post and then relax, and then do some more episodes and then post and relax, right? And your episodes ahead, okay? Then step 2, we're going to edit episodes using you're going to edit episodes using a simple drag and drop template in the post-production section of the system. Okay. So you're going to create a template. You just create a template. All you have to do is create a template, and then you drag and drop your episodes in that template. All right. And then number 3, you're going to repurpose the episode. So once you get your episode, you're going to repurpose it as a YouTube video. You're going to repurpose it as a podcast, right? You're going to repurpose that episode as content for your social media. You're just going to cut it up, right? And so you do that using AI tools that's going to help you get those things down. So don't do all this by hand. Use some AI tools. They're there. They work amazingly well, and it takes like something that would take you 2 hours to do. You can do it in 20 minutes, right? I do it day in, day out. Okay. All right, and then step number 4, you're going to post your podcast and promo assets on autopilot in the post section of the system. Again, using your AI tools, you're going to cut your podcast up, and then you're going to use those AI tools and scheduling tools to schedule all of your promo assets. And you literally can do this in 2 hours if you use the strategy: batch, edit, repurpose using your AI tools, and then you post with the AI tools. Again, you can do this all in 2 hours a week. All right. So you're probably thinking, that sounds great, but I'm not tech savvy and tech scares me. Well, guys, actually, you don't even need any equipment to get started. If you have a cell phone and you know how to make a call on it, you can record and edit a podcast right from your phone with no technical skills needed and no experience. So it's no excuse not to start and launch a podcast. It's so simple, my 7-year-old daughter can do it, right? And not only that, Marcel was able to do it. Not saying that she's not smart as a 7-year-old, but I'm just saying she was able to do it. You just saw how she was able to do it in 2 episodes right then and there, faded in, fade the music out, all of that good stuff. And she was able to do it so easily. And she learned that in 1 day. All right. So secret number 2. So now that we have the strategy, but how do we create the content? Because most people don't start a podcast because they don't know what to say or they don't know how to actually put the episodes together. So I use a simple framework for this, and I called it the 3-peat framework. So I'm going to walk you through this framework so that now that you got the system, now you're going to be able to add to the system what to actually say. Okay. Now, here's how I developed this. Right. So I got a lot of people telling me that they didn't know how to create the podcast episode. So I knew this was going to be a problem for people even before I started teaching my 5-day workshop. Right. So once my wife brought this up in one of our planning meetings as we were actually creating the podcast workshop, because if you guys didn't know, me and my wife actually created this, last year. And we put it together, and then I put it down. Then I actually ended up picking it up back up at the end of the year. So end of the year last year. And so that's just a quick story behind that. But my wife brought this up in the planning meeting. I knew the thing that people needed to add to their toolbox to know exactly what to say on each episode. So listen, when I was in junior college, I was desperately trying to get recruited from there to play at a Power 5 Division 1 college. Okay. So if you don't know what that is, you probably have to look that up because I don't got time to bother that. Anyway, if you go to school as a junior college, you can get recruited to play at a big time school that plays on TV. Let's just put it like that. Right. So I was trying desperately to do that. And so that would require that I need to get a certain number of classes and an associate's degree. So over the summers when I came home from my junior college, which was in New York, I would take classes in Virginia so I could transfer it back to my school in New York because I was so adamant about getting out of there, right? So one of the classes I decided to take was a public speaking class, and it was required for my degree, and I wanted to get it over with, right? But during the class, the professor taught me a formula that would change the way I would do my class presentations for the rest of my college career. She taught us in that formula where we would just repeat over and over and over what we say to the audience. It was so simple, but it was so powerful. But from then on, I would use the framework in all of my college presentations, and I would ace the speaking portion. I was so confident that I would volunteer for the speaking roles in all of the group presentations because I knew that I had that secret sauce. So, and just recently, I use it to strike a wholesale deal with a company to distribute their product at a higher percentage than what a normal affiliate would get. I also use it on my podcast today. And I knew it was the exact thing that I needed to teach others how to do. So I added it to my purpose-driven podcast challenge. And I'm going to give you that formula right now. So that formula is this. All right. Here's the three-peat framework. All right. And y'all's not going to believe it. It's so simple. All right. First, you're going to tell them what you're going to tell them. Then you tell them. Then you tell them what you told them. Does that make sense? Put a 1 in the chat if it makes sense. You guys thought it was going to be harder than that? Put a 1 in the chat if that makes sense. So it's easy. You're going to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So what does that mean? It means you're going to, if you're talking about riding bicycles, you're going to say, hey, today I'm going to tell you about riding bicycles. Then you're going to tell them all about riding bicycles. And then at the end, you're just going to say, You're going to say, so today we talked about riding bicycles. We understood that number one, you have to do this. Number two, you have to do that. Number three. Okay. Simple as that. And when you do that, people understand, they stay engaged, and it makes it is the secret sauce. You guys, you will not believe how easy it becomes when you do this. Okay. So that's the framework. As simple as that, is no harder than that. All right, so let's move on to the secret number 3. So we're almost done here. We just got started. The party just started. All right. Anyway, my Tony Horton impression here. All right, number 3. Secret number 3. You. It says how to build an audience. You don't build an audience. You borrow an audience. All right. So now that we have that strategy, we know what to say. We have that strategy. We know what to say. Now we need people to listen to us, right? So most people don't start because they don't have the people to listen to them, or they don't know how to get people to listen to the podcast. Well, again, I created a framework to help you get listeners, and I call that the borrow framework. So you don't build an audience, you borrow an audience. If you want to move fast, if you want to get things faster, you borrow an audience. So I use a simple framework that I call the borrow framework, because most people think you have to build an audience, and actually you don't build an audience, you just borrow your audience. And the great thing about it is you don't have to give the audience back. And the beauty of it, that is, the people that you borrow from will gladly let you borrow the people and keep them. All right. Because they don't leave them. They just go listen to something else. It's like McDonald's and Burger King. Like, you'll eat from McDonald's, you'll eat from Burger King too. Now, I know some people about being there like, I don't eat from either one of them. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to walk you through this framework. But first, of course, I'm going to tell you how I found out about this. So I learned this framework as I was building my business. I knew I had a lot to learn, so I always read. I read everything that I can get my hands on, um, to fix like specific problems that I had in my business. And one of the problems I had was building an audience. Go figure. So while I was starting to get into doing sports clinics, I had the great idea of doing it like a sports camp. So I called up one of my contacts to get a football stadium so I could do my clinic. So I got that, secured that. I created a flyer, put my event on Eventbrite. I wrote an email, gave it to my contact to distribute, and made posts on my social media. And I was waiting for the sales to come in. But I waited and I waited and I waited. And finally, one person purchased a ticket. So I had to cancel the entire event. Talk about a brother being like upset. So anyway, had to cancel the event. I went back to the drawing board, and I realized that the one thing that I didn't have was an audience of people who knew who I was, who trusted me to teach their youth athletes how to run. So I remembered the section in the book that I was reading called Traffic Secrets by Russell Brunson that talked about borrowing other people's audience. So Russell Brunson mentioned in the book that you will need to have someone introduce you to their audience. And when they do, you'll automatically gain influence because they trust the person that is introducing you. So it's kind of like going to a party and meeting new people through a mutual friend. The new people will accept you into their circle because they trust that mutual friend. So I started thinking, where are the people who would want to attend this event and who already has influence over these people? Then it hit me. My audience was parents of youth athletes, and those parents, they hang out at the youth sports programs, right? And I knew that all of the youth sports programs had all the parents' emails, right? So I was like, all I need to do is have the youth sports program send an email to their people about my event, and then they would purchase because they trusted the program, right? So I sent an email to every youth sports program director telling them about my event and that I would share the revenue with them as a fundraiser. So within a few days, I had a few interested programs. I set up an event with one of them, and we put 60 tickets out there for sale. We sold 47 low price tickets. They were around $60, and we made $3,000 in 2 hours. Right? Listen, I had no followers, no money, no influence, but I was able to make $3,000 and pay for the venue, give the park a cut, give the park their cut, and now build a small. And now I built a small audience that would attend another event if and when I had one of my own. All right. And as a result of that, guys, I added over 100 new listeners to my podcast. And you see how easy that was? Now do you understand the power of, borrowing an audience? And that's exactly what happened for Tiffany. definitely had a lack of knowledge on podcasting. She had no idea on how to do anything either. She had major mindset issues that was preventing her from starting her podcast, but she stepped out in faith anyway, not knowing if she would gain listeners, but she put strategies in that she learned in my 5-day challenge and was able to release her podcast and gain 16 listeners in week 1, and then that grew to 163 listeners in less than 3 weeks. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but that's actually a 919% increase. 919% increase is impressive. Now, if you continue to grow at that rate, she'll have about 2,000 listeners in less than a month. So as you can see here, she wrote, I would like to thank Mr. Derek Harper for offering classes on how to start a podcast. He was very informative and knowledgeable, and I truly thank you. Check him out on Facebook. It was laid on my heart to do it, but fearful due to the lack of knowledge and opinions of others. I attended his classes daily and went before God, and now I'm on week 3, embracing my podcast ministry. Blessed Creations podcast, shout out. It was on Spotify, shout out Spotify, teaching and ministering, but God, stepping out on faith, released released our podcast on limited thinking mindset, planted a seed on fertile ground with God, started out with 12 followers, and today she has 163 followers and listeners. And she released another lesson today. So God is good, right? So man, these are people who are doing this and putting these things into a thing that we've already helped. So if you put these frameworks into practice, you are going to get it. You guys are going to get it. Okay, you will be able to do the exact same thing. So what's the borrow framework? So here it is. Of course, you couldn't, in case you didn't glean from my story that I just told you about how I did it. All right, so simply is this. Step 1, you're going to find podcasts, YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, etc., that serve your dream audience. All right. Step 2, you're going to ask them to be on their podcast or go live with them on their Instagram or create a video with them on YouTube. All right. And then after that, step 3, you're going to tell their audience where they can find and how they can listen to your podcast. That's it. The borrow framework. That's how you borrow other people's audience. Okay. All right. It is as simple as that, guys. Again, did you think it was going to be harder than that? Not at all. Not at all. That's the simple framework. Find podcasts, ask to be on podcasts, tell their audience where they can find you. That's it. I'm telling you guys, this stuff is simple. I teach you guys how to do this. It's very, very easy. All right. So let me ask you a question. If you followed what I showed you in secret number 1 and created templates, repurposed your content, and posted it all in less than 2 hours a week, more than 2 or more shows, then you did what I showed you in secret 2 and created engaging content with the simple 3-peat structure in minutes. And then you use secret 3 to borrow audience in a large numbers. Do you think you could be successful? That's an actual question. Put a yes or yes in the chat. Yes or yes. Yes or yes. Absolutely, you could do this. And not only would you be able to do this, it'd be super easily. So yes or yes. You think this would work for you? Yes or yes. We don't say no. We're too busy saying yes. Where's that from? Anyway, would you think this will work for you? Of course it would. All right, so let me ask you another question. Is it okay if I give like 2 more minutes so I can go over that very special offer that I created for you? Remember I talked about that to help you implement the 5P podcast system? Would you like me to hold your hand and walk you step by step through this entire process? Yes or no? Go ahead and put a yes in the chat. Yes or yes. Now, no no's. No no's. No, 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 no no's. Just yes. Only yes. Okay. Yes or yes. Would you like me to hold your hand and while we do this? Yes or yes. Okay. Yes or yes. Let me see the yeses. Okay. We're seeing the yeses. Maybe that's the yes from the other one. Because you guys on a delay. Well, I want to invite you to the 5-day purpose-driven podcast challenge. Now, I know you guys, some of you guys already been through this. There's others of you haven't done it yet. All right. And I got some new goodies that's going to go on in this. So with the purpose-driven podcast challenge, this is where you're going to learn the 5P podcast system and start a podcast in just 5 days. This is going to take place in the private Facebook group. Not this one. It's going to be in another one. So I was thinking about doing it in this group, but I said, no, we're going to do it in another group. All right. And this will take place in that private group. And so there's 2 ways to attend. I'm going to tell you about that. But with this challenge, you're going to be able to create a podcast in only 5 days. You're going to learn how to build an audience of super fans. going to create years worth of content and a year's worth of content in 15 minutes. You're going to create a podcast system that creates episodes in a fraction of the time. And you're going to get rid of the procrastination that's holding you back, right? Just like Tiffany did. She was procrastinating because she had that fear of starting. So you're going to get rid of that fear of starting. You're going to get rid of the fear of not knowing where to start. And you're going to get rid of not knowing what equipment to get, because I'm going to tell you everything you're going to need, and you already got it. It's in your hand. It's the phone that you hold in your hand. And then if you want some other stuff, I'm going to teach you where to get those other stuff too. All right. So if you're saying like, well, I don't want to use my cell phone, I actually want to use the equipment. Well, I'm going to tell you how to do that too. All right. So this right here, this cost me time, right? When you use this product, or when you get into this challenge, not only will you save time and money that I spent to develop it, but you're also going to save what could be months or years of wasted time and money, because you'll be doing it right the first time. And there's no trial and error period that I had. Like when I first started, I had a lot of trial and error. Right. So you're going to be able to skip that. You're not going to have that problem. So the first way to go to the five the 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 purpose driven podcast challenge is general admission. So you're going to get 5 days of podcast training. That's a $250 value. Okay. All right. And if you want to skip the line, you can just comment me below, comment me in the comments. And so you can get the link, and I'll send you the link to register. Okay. Um, so here's what we're going to cover. Day one is talk about becoming a podcaster. Day two, we're going to be planning your podcast, and that's going to be the intro to the 5P podcast system. Day three, we're going to be recording your show and your show assets. Day four, we're going to be talking about editing your podcast. I'm going to show you actually how to edit your podcast. And then day five, we're going to go over promoting, posting, and actually monetizing your podcast. It's going to be a lot easier than what you think. All right. So you're going to get that. And then you're going to also get the podcast challenge workbook. All right. You're going to get the workbook. See, you guys thought it was going to be the same. You probably were about to leave. Like, man, this is the same thing. Like, nope, you're actually going to get the podcast challenge workbook in addition to that. I'm going to throw that in there. All right. Um, as well as getting the workbook, and you guys already know the workbook is amazing. You're going to get access to the Purpose Driven Podcast Challenge Facebook group. Okay. That's what we talked about. You're going to get that Facebook group. You got to be in a Facebook group. You're here now. We're going to do it in another window, another private one, where we're going to be giving you a lot more of those goodies. Okay. And you're also going to get the 5P podcast system. All right. You're going to actually get the 5P podcast system laid out for you. So you'll have that. I'm going to lay it all the way out for you so you'll know exactly what to do, and you can just go execute it. I'm going to give you that plan. This is the same plan that Tiffany got, that you just saw her with. She got the same plan and was able to put that plan in action. So when you do the things I'm telling you to do, you're going to grow. All right. Just like you saw Tiffany grow, just like you saw Marcel grow. All right. Now, you get the 5 days of podcasting training, the podcast challenge workbook, access to the Purpose Driven Podcast Challenge Facebook group, and then the 5P podcast system. It's going to help you do that. All right. That's a total value of $837. But listen, I'm not going to charge you $837. But that's not it. You can actually step it up 10 notches and really dive in and go for the big boy. Go for the big boy. Let's talk about that. That would be V.I.P. That's the second way that you can go. You can go V.I.P. Okay, so you didn't know that the last time. All right, so this time you got V.I.P. So you in V.I.P. you're going to be able to get everything that you got that the general admission people are going to get. All right, they're going to get the 5 days of podcast training, the Purpose Driven Podcast Challenge workbook that's going to be thrown in there. You're going to get access to the Purpose Driven Podcast Challenge Facebook group. You're going to get that. You're going to get the 5P podcast system. You're going to get that. All right. On top of that, I got some more goodies for you. All right. So let's look at them. The next thing you're going to get is the Rapid Audience Building Secrets Masterclass. So if you want to build an audience, you're going to be able to get that. All right. That Rapid Audience Building Secrets Masterclass that's going to come right to your email. Okay. It's going to come right to your email. You're going to get that. All right. Recording, breaking everything down. All right. The next thing you're going to get is a digital copy of the book, Building a Purpose-Driven Podcast, How to Start and Launch an Informative, Impactful, and Influential Podcast. It's a $40 value of the book right here. You guys look down. You can see me holding it up. You're going to get a digital copy of this. So automatically be able to download this right to your computer and bring it on your cell phone and you can read it while you're at work or read it while you're on your lunch break or whatever have you. Okay. So it goes with you everywhere you go, right there on your device. Okay. Who loves you? Okay. The next thing you're going to do is going to be able to get a Q&A session with me. Knock down, drag out, hot seat Q&A session with me, where I'm going to give you a special link and you're going to be able to talk exactly with me. Ask me anything you want, and I'm going to answer as if you were a $10,000 paying client. Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, that's the package. That's a total of a $1,973 value. Now, listen, I'm not going to charge you $1,973 for this package. All right. But let me ask you a question. If all this did was help you start a podcast, help you create episodes with ease, and help you build an audience, would it be worth it? That is an actual question. You can actually answer it now. If all this did was help you start a podcast, help you create episodes with ease, and help you build an audience, would it be worth the price of, let's just say, $873 if you were able to do that in 5 days? Like, come on, 5 days, $873 or $1,973 along with those extra things. Would it be worth it? Yes or no? Yes or yes. We're not going to say no. We don't say no. We're too busy saying yes. Okay. Of course it would. Of course it would. It would be worth that. Probably more. Probably more, right? Okay. So for the general admission, the 5 days of podcast training, podcast challenge workbook, access to the Purpose Driven Podcast Challenge Facebook, the 5P podcast system, $837 value is only $47. All right. Only $47. So if you comment me below in the comment section, and I will send you a link to get registered. Okay. Send you the link, the special link to get registered for the general admission. All right. Now, if you want to step up to the big boy and get the 5 days of podcast training, the podcast challenge workbook, access to the Purpose Driven Podcast Challenge Facebook group, the 5P podcast system, the creating, it says creating content with AI. You're going to get that. So I'm going to give you that, the creating content with AI Secrets Masterclass recording. And we give you the digital copy of the book, Building a Purpose Driven Podcast. And you're going to get the Q&A session with me for only $197. Only $197. $197. All right. And that's a steal. That is a total steal. I wish I had this option. All right. So listen, at this point, you have two choices. You can choose to do nothing. And if you do nothing with the information you learned over the last 30, 40 minutes, 30 minutes, what will you get? You're going to get nothing. Or you can choose to take a leap of faith and just test it out and see if it'll work for you. Right? So what do I mean by testing it out? I mean, by trying it, I mean, if you show up every day, if you purchase the VIP ticket, you show up every day of the challenge and do all of the work required, and you don't feel like it's worth 10 times more than what you paid for it, you're going to get your money back, and you're going to be able to keep the benefits and things that I gave you. All right. So the real question is it worth gambling a few minutes of your time to check this out? Even if it only does half of what I claimed today, it will still give you enough to start and launch a podcast. Right. So the question is, are you going to give it, if you're going to give it a few minutes, if you're going to type me down below so I can send it to your email or send it to your Facebook inbox, the link. Huh? Are you going to do it? Huh? Can you do it? Are you going to do it? Do you really want me to do it? Anyway, so listen, I want you to act now because the time is drawing near. The challenge starts March 11th through the 15th. You want to get your tickets now because they're going to sell out. And the VIP is only have 10 spots left. Only have 10 spots for the VIP. And so if you don't hurry up and get it, you're going to miss out. All right. So here's what you get. Go ahead and type me down in the comments. I'm going to send it to your inbox on your DM direct message on Facebook so that you can get it. All right, get the link. All right, and get registered. So act now. It's limited time. This is only for you guys who are here tonight. You guys are getting a special. All right, so go ahead and do that now, and I will talk to you guys soon. I gotta get out of here, but Love you, and I will talk to you guys soon. Type me in this section below. All right. Talk soon.